We have a lot to do, so let's just jump into it. So in the last episode, I forgot to add some inserters to the science. And in between this episode and last episode, I have changed a few things. So I changed some of the space platforms. I figured I would do this off camera because I've already adjusted these so much that it's not a big deal for you to see it happen anymore. But obviously we've had some problems. So I adjusted the number of iron ore that each of the space platforms has. I also lowered the quantity. Whoa, not 15k. Lowered the quantity for the amount of ammo that can go onto the belt, but also increased the requirement for the amount of ammo that we need before we leave. So this was set to 100, now it's 130. This one was set to dump until it had 200, now it's 150. These were initially set at 100, now they're 130. The reason why I did this is because one of the problems that I was having was that if a space platform was sitting here for too long, sitting idle in one location, the belt would start to fill up and it would start to stutter. But the space stations that were moving constantly were running out of ammo. So this is going to help solve that problem. I also kind of streamlined, so the wizard is purely dedicated to everything Volcanus. It is only going back and forth between Novice and Volcanus. The Jenks is purely dedicated to Fulgora, so it is only going back and forth between Novice and Fulgora. The Jam is literally just an everything ship, and it's going to continue to go to all the different areas. Once we unlock Gleba, we will add that into the rotation as well. We will also make a different ship for Gleba to be exclusive to back and forth from Novice to Gleba. The Peon is going to remain our personal ship. It is currently stopped at Fulgora. We will use it to collect any, like if we need something very specific and we need it like yesterday, the Peon is our ship to do that with. Anyways, we have yet to make a rocket, so it is not a big deal that the sciences are not going. So I initially planned on putting trains over here, and I have since scrapped that idea. And the main reason why is because I wanted to start, like I want to reuse as much of these blueprints as we can. We will not be using some of them, but we will be trying to use some other ones. And my stacker is not going to work in here. It's not going to work over here. Whoops. Won't work over here at all in any direction. This is the only place that it works, and I don't want to put it here because that would mean we would have to tear down this starter area to make it function. So I have since decided that actually down here is a pretty awesome spot, so we will be putting it here. I am going to be reusing the Volcanus train hub. So I have set that up here, but before we get into that, we need to discuss a few other things, and then we will get started on that and eventually get that set up. So I need to change the blueprint for the city block before we get too far. Thankfully, we have one that's dedicated to Fulgora, and I really should have done this before I started stamping them down, but I'm going to do it now. So what we are going to change is not actually that much. Let me make sure I can get to a clear area. All we're doing is we're cutting these two and just shifting them over by one. That's it. And the reason why we're doing this is because we will eventually have the lightning collector. And the lightning collector takes up 4 tiles, whereas the lightning rod takes up 1. I can actually probably just show that. So yes, the lightning collector takes up more space, and I want to try to keep it within the confines of both the power tower, the big electric power pole, and the roboport. So this is going to be our new blueprint, more or less. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to connect this with wires because, you know, why not? And we are going to update this blueprint because that is the blueprint we'll be using. Make sure it's going to work, and it does. Unfortunately, we can't just... Oh, why didn't I think of this before? I take that back. Nope, we're changing this. We are swapping the position. Because with that will, nope, not cut, not cut, abort. That will allow me to just stamp down everything in the area. Hey, well that's going to work out way better. Better than I had initially planned for anyways. Okay, so we're going to update this blueprint. Make sure it's still going to work. And oh, this is so much better. And we're just going to force stamp it down everywhere we can. Oh, no, 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 no. That's bad. Abort. Ow, ow. That is going to mess us up somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but that probably just killed something. Seems fine there. It's fine there. That's good. Yeah, see, this it would have messed us up here. This would have made this section obsolete. Okay, let's be careful when we do this. How about that? Up here's fine. Those can all be replaced. Okay, that's better. We want to get this everywhere that we can. And especially down in this area. Because we will be going down here as soon as possible. There's also some really, like, I mentioned how awesome this platform or this area was. It does kind of suck that it's at an angle that's going to cause some problems for us later, but it's not a big deal right now. But one of the nice things about it is 2 power poles can fit between this island and this other smaller island. So that means that this is potentially usable for energy and energy storage. Same goes with this one down here. We can't see it, but this can be connected as well. I kind of feel like there's another... This one is kind of still a yes, it can connect, but we need, I think, rare power poles. I'm not sure. I will have to check that later. But yes, that is one of the benefits of the area that we're in. Oh, come on, still no rocket. Let's go. Where are you guys at? You're soft at novice because you are waiting for... You don't need that anymore. Oh, no, no, no. You do. You do. Shanks. Where's Shanks? Buddy, you gotta hurry it up. Let's go. We're waiting on you. So another thing that I didn't quite talk about was... Once we upgraded the mech armor, so the mech armor is really great. For one, more storage. We have 50% inventory instead of, sorry, 50 extra inventory instead of the, what does the other one give, 20? 30? The other one gives 30. And this is increased with quality, so it could be up to 125 extra inventory slots, which is pretty wild. But the big thing is the grid size. The grid size becomes much, much, much larger. So we're going from 10 by 10 to 10 by 12. But we're going to attempt to get quality for this one a lot harder than we attempted to get quality for the power armor. And that can get up to, for legendary, 15 by 17. That's pretty massive. So once we have the mech armor, one thing that it allows us to do is, does it say on here? I don't think it does. One thing that the mech armor allows is for us to actually hop over any obstacles. So we could just run right over this recycler and we would just hop over it, which is great. And because we can basically hop over anything, that means that nothing is an obstacle anymore. So we don't have to worry about getting stuck on anything. Which also means that at some point, any kind of wasted space that we have like this could just be filled with accumulators. And we don't have to worry about it. Which is another huge advantage of having this massive area, and we will be doing stuff similar to this once we get that and get up and going. And we just... Nope, not that one. Yay, he's on the way. Okay, so then we get some electric engine units, and then we get the rocket, and then we get some science going. So one of the biggest problems with having this section set up the way it is and having to rely on the bots coming down all the way through here is they are traveling over an area that is not protected by the electric poles, by the lightning rods. Huge problem. We're going to lose so many bots. So another thing that I did was I actually set up a requester here to bring in some logistics bots and requester here to bring in some construction bots. Set these up with a limit of 500 for the Logi bots and 500 for the construction bots. So as we start to lose them to the lightning storms, we will continue to get extras. We will need to fill out, fix any issues like that. So another thing is, once I look at this, so this entire blue section for like this coverage for the lightning rod, you definitely want to try to fill in as much of this area as you can. So another thing that I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to go through and I'm going to outline the edges to try to see how far, and like I want to cut, like get some of the corners, because any lightning strike that happens outside of this area is wasted potential energy. So we could in theory, like all the blank spots that you see, you can see that it kind of overhangs a little bit out here. Anything that doesn't have coverage or at least a little bit of an overhang is potentially wasted area. So that's what, just visually maybe an extra 5 to 10% power that we could have just from adding these all over the edges. So I will be doing that at some point. Okay, now that we are protected, let's get down here and see what we can do with all of this stuff. So we will not be using basically most of this. We are largely going to be kind of designing something new. Not quite designing something new, but we're going to be doing something different for sure. I mostly just wanted to set up. Yoink, and yoink, yoink. Okay, something like that. We will also need to get rid of some of these cliffs because these are going to be in the way. All this other junk's also going to be in the way, so let's get rid of some of that. Ah, so much junk. Let's go, bots. Let's get rid of all this. You guys can do it. I have faith in your ability to survive this storm. Maybe. Wait, what? Okay, so we obviously have to wait for them to bring in some more roboports, which is going to be coming in by the jam. He is on his way with more roboports. Awesome. This is probably just going to be dying bots. Yeah. Those poor guys. But for now, this is something that we can't help, and I am just going to deal with it. Okay, so we are going to be bringing in, I need a requester, not an outpost, solid requester. I do not have the rails, so I can't see whether or not it lines up. Ow. Okay, so that one is going to line up. This is going to be scrap. Everything is going to be scrap. buddy. Can we... Okay, that is probably good enough for now. I need the requester back. Where did you go? This is rough because I know there's some positions on here where this does not work at all. Kind of taking a gamble on this one, but we will see. Yeah, bring it. Oh, come on. Okay, so once they get down there, then we can set it up. Anyways, we know what this looks like. This is going to be 2 belts going in, 3 going in this direction, and then this one will go out. So we're going to have these 2 belts coming in this way. And in case you're wondering, yes, we are going to have 8 full belts of scrap coming in. Solid requester, this should have been... Okay, perfect, that lined it up exactly where it needed to be. So every time you hear that noise, that's not, oh man, the bots are being attacked. That's, oh man, the bots have been killed. So that is not the sound of damage taken. That is the sound of destruction. Wait a minute. I was like, wait, that's not right. Okay, then this one will just come straight down. And then these guys will come over this way. Whew. Nope. Oh, almost. Okay, so this is how all of our materials, the scrap, is going to be coming out. Now, we just need to recycle this. You know what, I might end up lowering these actually, because I think I want to try to have them as low as possible here. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to cut... Oh. Okay, that's way better. A lot of these don't need to come this far. So, what are we doing with all of this scrap? Well, we are going to be recycling the crap out of it. So we have basically, we're going to end up using, let's see. Oh my gosh, we are losing so many bots. It is what it is. How many have we lost? I don't know. Can I see that in... Alright, so we've lost like 23. Nice. 24. Alright, let's, yeah, we're just going to ignore that for now. I don't have any recyclers on me. Go me. With, you know what that means. More bot action. Oh, I can make 5. Okay, so we are going to leave enough room for a belt to come in to give these guys some stuff. They will come in something like this. And they will output onto a belt. So we have 60 items per second coming in from the green belt. The recyclers can process 2.5 scrap per second. So that means we need 24 recyclers to get through a full belt of scrap. Horizontal flip. I'm actually going to move this back as pretty much as far as I can. I don't want any... Make sure it's all lined up. Okay, so there's a couple things. One, we're going to have largely, like, we're embracing the scrap. Everything that we put out will be a sushi belt. We are going to be taking directly off the sushi belt. So the way that we're going to manage to do that is this is going to be extremely, extremely underground belt intensive. So anytime we need something, we're going to have 8 belts of items coming through. So anytime we want to take something off the belts, we are going to filter them and have them exit like this. So the sushi belt will be allowed to continue on. And this will mean that oh, really? All right. So this is how this is going to end up looking. Now, obviously, these are not going to catch everything. So if there's a situation where we feel like we definitely won't catch everything, then we will either take a build and duplicate it, or we will eventually have something like a requester chest and have a situation coming off like this. And then later on down the belt, or down the line, we will have some kind of collection mechanism to collect that same item, which basically means that once we're done with an item, like let's say, so we're going to start out with ice as an example. Farther down the line, we might have segments where we're not using this like underground put on a belt method, and we will have kind of open long belts that are capable of having a section like this. We might then use that opportunity to start collecting something that we might want later. This is going to create a crap ton of storage, and I mean a lot of storage, because we're going to have a lot of belt space where it's just collection. But that's going to be okay, and then we can request in whatever the item is. Obviously, it wouldn't look like that. And these wouldn't either. Remember, these were kind of like a belt or something. Actually, now that I think about it, I would probably have the requesters be on the back end. That way theirs would get dumped first. Like it doesn't really matter. Or we could use the buffer chest and maybe at some point instead of having like let's say this was, I don't know, stone and this was chromium ore. Can I get rid of that? I do need to get rid of that. Here. So let's say that this side was stone and this side was chromium ore, then we could have stone would be on this side. Requests in for stone, and then something like this, and then requests in for chromium ore. And it would maybe look something like that. That would allow us to have the option to have requester chest, like this request in things, and also have requester chest have the ability to take from these if necessary. Anyways, haven't really decided 100% on all of this, but this is the general idea that we're going to be working with. One thing that I do know is that that belt will start here. So we're going to have 8 belts wide here. This is kind of going to be our bus. I wasn't initially planning on doing a bus, but then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I think that I can make this work. And then I started doing some testing, and sure enough, I am totally going to be able to make this work. Okay, so we need to finish off our... I should have just requested in this stuff. Yeah, just bring me a bunch. Let's go, guys. Okay, so the biggest negatives to this, well, seemingly biggest negatives, the biggest negative is that we only have 12 items coming out from scrap. So if you remember, we have these 12 items, and there are obviously items that we need that aren't included in this list. So for instance, we need blue circuits from processing units and advanced circuits. We need copper plate that we could get from copper cable or low density structure. We need plastic, which we could get from low density structure and advanced circuits, red circuits. We need copper plates that we would get from iron gears. We need a little bit of stone brick that we would get from concrete. So there's obviously a lot of things that we need. So because of that, I'm going to take a portion of the recyclers, which are not included in the 24. And we are going to filter and then allow them to put back onto this sushi line. The filter will be something like blue circuits, red circuits, LDS, definitely gears, and concrete. Yep, that works for me. Unfortunately, we can only do 5 of the filters. It would be nice to add copper wire to the mix, but you know what? That is quite all right. Not a big deal. We won't necessarily have too many options for recycling later, but because we're going to have at least another pass at collecting things at the end of this line, which is actually going to be the hardest part. Like the hardest part of all of this is that we have to kind of have this scrap line, this sushi belt moving all the time. And the goal is to literally have this thing just kind of travel up through the middle. We're going to have to do some turning in here to allow it to continue up this way. And then in one side, probably, I don't really know, I haven't decided yet. On one side, we're going to have a recycler dump where anything that's like overflow or we just really don't want, then we're going to scrap every single bit of it, or we're going to recycle every single bit of it. And then we're going to have another kind of like priority out section where any materials that do make it through that we want to continue to use, we will have maybe a whole section dedicated for, I mean, we could use it for like bot malls and upcyclers, and we will get into a lot of that. But in the meantime, we have this. So we have 8. Actually, I think this is maybe a little too close. A little bit too close, so let's just shift this over by 1. Yeah. Okay, that's way better. So we're going to copy all of this. This is 8, 16, and 24. That is going to leave us extra room just in case. Just in case? What do you mean just in case? Well, there are certain... Our poor bots, no. Oh well. Okay, let's, what was I gonna say? There are certain situations where we might want to have more. Kind of not really, because the amount that's being put out, like these are collecting 1.5 scrap per second, and they are outputting roughly I think it's 1.47 items per second, basically 1.5. One of the first things that we're going to want to do outside of collecting all of this stuff is increase our scrap recycling productivity up to at least probably 40% productivity. Any higher than that, and it's kind of, it's like a maybe. We could start pulling back on these, or anyways. Just in case we needed extra room for, say, more of these, we have extra space up here, but we are largely going to be starting to converge all of the belts right after this roboport. So the last thing that we need is power. I'm going to stamp this one in here. Well, that kind of works out. Not really. I can do this whole section with 2. How about that? Let's move this up. Now the question is, will I be able to replicate that with these? Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. Oh, so close. Okay, and that is our scrap setup. I'm going to copy all of this. Make this into a blueprint, get rid of these. We're probably going to have some overlap with the other power poles, but that's fine. So now I'm going to set this up here. Make sure everything is lined up properly. Oof. That was close. Okay, and now we just need to pull all of this together. So one thing, like another thing, is I am not going to be doing any kind of balancing. We're just going to let this go through as it is. Okay, and that is how we will be doing things. So, before I take off, so I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff off camera. So we have many, many different scrap piles around here, and we need a way to bring those in. So I am going to start setting up the rails system, but before I go, I want to kind of show like how exactly I'm going to be doing that. So thankfully, was that? Oh, this way. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on in here? This should be working. There. So we will have something like this. Elevated rails going that way. Elevated rails going that way. So I'm going to use a very kind of basic setup for rails. Let's just kind of go over how I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to have... I need this 9 wide. My measuring stick. Okay. Something like this. So for turning, I'm going to have something that basically looks like this. And something that does not look like this. So this is kind of what a turn is going to look like. I am not sure what an intersection might look like, but I will fiddle with that at some point. And then this will be something central like this. At least I hope they will fit like that. And that is basically what our straight segments will look like and our turns will look like. So that's just kind of going to give you an idea. I'm going to largely have kind of a perimeter where we have a lot of scrap mining sections. There's probably one over here. There's probably a couple over here or over here. And I'm just going to kind of have a perimeter set up so that trains can come in. We already have fuel for the trains, so we will have those set up like that. We're not going to have a shunting station though. There's unfortunately one area that I will definitely be missing out on. So yes, that is something that I'm going to set up while I am, sorry, after this episode, I'm going to start working on that. Hopefully I can get a bunch of trains set up. At the very least, I need just anything coming in. And like I said, one of the hardest parts to having this whole setup down here will be that we kind of need this belt to continue moving, but we don't want to just start recycling everything. So I don't know how I'm going to work this out, but you know what? We will kind of deal with that. In theory, I guess it would make more sense to just build the whole base first and then turn it on. But, I mean, where's the fun in that, right? Anyways, that is going to be it for me for this episode. In the next episode, we are going to start working on some of the basics. We need to get some... We're gonna start with light oil. We're gonna start with water, light oil, and homium solution. And we're gonna have a section on the bus dedicated for stuff like that. So we're gonna have more belts of stuff that are gonna go onto the bus and areas for liquids. So I will see you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.